Have there, Robin?
Presents for everybody. Let's see,
I know.
printed material, because everybody wants forms to fill out, right?
It's insurance stuff probably.
I
And
think
then Club 50 was
Club 50
was where my
I don't
kids
do
were my
laundry.
Within like 8 feet.
Construction fire, no, that's
The whole section.
That should be a no-brainer.
That's the whole point. You know,
little
it.
character.
He's a good lawyer though.
What's that?
He's a good lawyer.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
Did you like the basketball game Saturday?
Yes. Yes,
They lost to
they had lost to that team earlier.
Yep.
Had they?
Yeah,
Okay.
and they needed that win in order to get in the playoffs.
Yeah, but they lost today, I think.
They
Was
did.
any good
I
this
think
year?
so, yeah. I think they played today and
First
lost.
game of the tournament.
They're out.
And lost to
Yeah.
S&T.
They gotta get some size.
Bro.
Yeah,
Yes.
there, you look at every team that I've seen them play, they got a 6'11", 7'1" guy, and they're 6'7", 6'8", you know, that. They're working at a
I've never
disadvantage.
seen a 6'8" girl in my life.
6'6".
You
Six,
don't have to have a
And then
6'11",
there
but
was
you gotta
6'7",
have
6'8"
some
guys,
guys
so
that
well,
play
at least
taller than
somebody
they
she
are.
could date.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, basketball.
but they, was that,
High school.
it was either that game, the women's game, I think it was the Saturday before. They had, the opposing team had a girl that was 6'6",
Yeah, I saw that.
and you saw that one, okay.
Yeah.
And they never threw the girl the ball. I don't know what, if she had,
That team that.
if she was
He
contagious
looked
or
like a
what.
midget
James
with
Danny
that.
had a tall girl.
Yeah,
I
Yeah, they-
she was
yeah, they
6'5"
did, yeah.
or better.
yeah, they did. Yeah.
6'30".
I was at my grandson's at Alpha. We played, down in Carterville. I never even heard of Carterville.
That's a little bit down south there.
89 miles worth of it.
Yeah.
Is it really?
We
Yeah.
beat Diana last night, so we play, back down there tomorrow night, at 7 against Bree Central for the sectional winner.
That's a sectional, okay.
That's a far piece to go for a section.
You think that's bad? Well, the winner of that game, next week goes to Carbondale. And it gets worse. If you want to let that Carbondale,
Oh, no idea.
go after Champagne.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So we're about, I think right now we're
Yeah.
Jack, how are you?
27 and
They were
4.
big down there.
Yeah. Country.
Getting on, okay.
We played Peterbilt for the
In
regional
six?
championship.
I don't have any
They were
names, but-
6'7", 6'5", 6'6". They had number
Oh.
already.
That's always bad.
Yeah.
Cruises, it's flat.
That's high
Bad
school.
news is that, all right.
That's high
Yes,
school.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
My grandson.
Everything's good.
yeah.
Didn't break anything.
I love it when I go to the doctor every time, like, how many times have you fallen in the last?
I can see that that's a lot of age problem.
Because it's a lot.
So I'm fine.
Well, I'm glad to hear
Oh,
that.
recover.
We are presently leaderless.
Oh, yeah. Well,
If she
6:32,
can-
right?
she can send, you say you won't be here?
Yeah, Brent won't be here.
Oh, he won't.
Can't stand it.
Brent will not be here.
Okay.
Stop getting agenda.
Okay,
Yeah.
somebody's gotta be the boss. Step up. Go,
Kevin.
come on.
Mr. Stevens.
I call this meeting adjourned.
You're a great boss, I like it.
Don't all jump at once
How about-
now.
Jack, you got seniority, don't you?
I can.
Okay, go.
Yeah.
No promotion.
Yeah, I know what that means. Promotions in the military mean responsibility. We'll call,
More work and less pay.
we'll call the meeting to order. For the planning committee meeting for March. And we will look at the agenda items, but typically the very first agenda item is last meeting's minutes. Can we get a summary of those? All right, let me pull them up real quick. Just take a moment. So, I'm sorry.
You want a copy?
Oh, yeah, if you have one. Otherwise, I'll keep looking in the list now.
So you do.
I didn't print the minutes, so I don't know what Kevin's gonna do.
Minutes from February sixth, new business. Well, first of all, does anyone have any additions or corrections to the minutes? We talked about a solution for well, this is today's meeting, but February sixth was our last meeting. Is there a motion to accept the minutes from the last meeting, or are there any additions or corrections needed?
I read them, I didn't see anything wrong with them, so I'll move to approve.
It's been moved that we accept and seconded. We'll call for a vote.
Aye.
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 Nays, ayes have it. The meeting minutes are approved and can be published. New business. Discuss, there are 3 items on the agenda. Discuss and recommend solution to the request to expand the parking lot at 108 East St. Louis Street. There's been a request to consider access to the property by designating an easement through the southeast section of the city's square park. What would be, so it's discussion.
We got a gentleman here that want to do that. Maybe we should listen to what they got to say.
Oh, okay.
So if there's any, yeah, present.
Basically, there was an attachment to the meeting minutes, with a little map on it.
Yeah.
You guys pull up the PDF, yeah, that right there. So basically, it's an L-shaped building. And there's about 40 feet on the back section, and then there's like 43 on the front section that are not.
When you say back,
So facing St. Louis Street, as it goes down the hill,
yeah,
there's a little bit, because the building jots in where the door is there, so you got a little bit more room up front. But on the, we'll call it 40 feet on the length of that building. And where the property line currently is, because it's for sale, if you guys don't know this. So before we would offer anything, we want to see if we can access to parking, because based off your requirements for remodeling that building, you're requiring parking as a city. And so without parking, that building is worthless. So we're asking for an easement to be able to put a lane going 10 feet off of that building. The best case scenario for it would be to take that 10 feet off of the corner of the building and go all the way up to the sidewalk. But if you would only allow for an angle, at least for us to access that 40 feet, we can, based off the requirements for the parking, we have enough to get parking in there. So there's like, right now somebody poured, I guess, Bailey poured that asphalt over there, had it done. So basically, we're asking to take up basically where the handicap spot is now as an entrance. And then at the top, we would put in a handicap spot up by where the storefront would be.
so the parking spots that are there now would remain there,
2 of them would disappear.
excepting for the ones.
Yeah, the 2 closest to the building, so you could swing into that area.
Okay,
How far from where the building sits now, how far is it to the west to where the property line is and the park starts?
Oh, I mean, we got we haven't had a survey because we haven't bought it or anything, so this is preliminary for us. We're not gonna put an offer in on the building until we know that parking is an option, because if it's not an option, then we're out. I don't wanna purchase a building that I can't access, there's 0 parking.
Right.
So you can't access that green space that it has where the old Cedar building used to be.
Yeah, I guess that's my question is, how much of that is?
Well, that's what I'm saying. So best case scenario, like I said, you go off of that building about 12 feet, so that'd be 10 feet-ish of your property that we would like to pave all the way up to the sidewalk.
But that doesn't answer my question. My question is, from where the building presently sits,
Mhm.
the corner, Joe.
going west, how far is it? from
It's
that
basically
building to
right
the
on,
property
it's
line?
pretty much right on the property
So
line, maybe
the
a foot or
building's right on
two.
the property line.
Yeah,
Okay, that's what I want to know.
So I do have a question about the layout that's proposed.
that's the current layout from what the gentleman had written up. We used it strictly to the.
It does, it looks like one of the spaces nobody would be able to get out of. The primarily the handicap space, if they backed out. it looks like
Yeah, that's,
A car length, so I'm not sure that.
It's probably gonna
that
end up
number of
being-
Spaces could actually be provided.
it's probably gonna end up getting, changed. That's gonna have to come down. I didn't draw that on there
And I
necessarily.
guess the other question I would have is, we're talking about eliminating an ADA space for the city's property. And I don't know if maybe that parking there would need to be reconfigured to provide that ADA space somewhere.
I mean, you could, there's gonna be an ADA spot up front that we would provide. And then if you wanted, you still have like 3 more spots there that you could dedicate as a one as well.
So if I understood it correct, that
I mean, I'm not here to like ruffle any feathers, but you guys did not, I know it's your property, but you guys did not necessarily pour that, and nor did it get approved for that parking lot to be inserted there to begin with. Just to let you guys all know that.
The parking spaces that are there now.
The spots that are there now did not get approved,
Yeah,
and
We did approve those.
I don't remember that.
they did
I
not.
thought the planning commission approved them, whether the city council did or not, I
Yeah,
don't
cause
know.
they,
But
I
we
don't-
did.
For where the cedar, well,
These parking spaces here, we approved
I don't remember that.
at the bottom, right?
at the bottom.
At the bottom of the picture.
We approved those.
And the
Yeah.
building base is East St. Louis or the highway?
the store, well, it had like,
The storefront will face.
technically, like, it depends on what you do with the building. I mean, there's like that garage bay in the back, you could do a business front there if you wanted. And then the front, obviously, would probably, be a business front.
But the parking spaces, if I understood, again, your building's right on the line, so all the parking spaces would be on city property.
No. The spaces would be on our property, but it's just the access to get to them.
That can't be right. Then the property line isn't on.
The property.
There's an L shape there.
Ah,
You just
Okay.
asked- you're asking for a right of way.
We're asking, yeah, we're just asking for.
The property line is this here, not here.
They're just asking for a right of way to
This is the
get
corner.
to.
Right.
Where the-
You're asking for a
that
permit.
driveway is, that-
Yeah,
make that parking accessible,
correct.
which,
They're.
We just want to be able to-
Yeah.
and if I understand the easement or the drawing, in this L-shaped area that's open,
Mhm,
those are where the parking spaces would go,
correct.
and you would have to both enter and exit via the
Yeah,
easement alley
Yes.
that you're asking for.
that's
And
correct.
how many spots do you estimate can go in that space?
There's 7 normal and then 188.
I think it's 6, probably.
Yeah, depending on how,
realistically, because I think that end space, if you back straight out, you don't have room to turn before you're into the next parking space.
Well, I don't know how it's drawn, but I would do it so you would bump, so you have, that's gonna be the biggest spot, cause that's the handicap one, so you have to have so much room up front. So, well, I don't know.
Normally, there's some space on, if you have a
I
parking
understand.
space here, there's some space to back out this way.
Right,
Cause you can only have one way in out because IDOT won't grant an access
We know.
off of 4.
yeah,
So is the.
I have not contacted that.
Is the access easement, that drive aisle that you're proposing, is that 1 lane wide, or do you know the width that you're asking for on that?
If you would allow us to pour as much as we could up to that tree, I would take it and I would put more parking on the other side even, like for, the business and the city, whatever. But-
What's the width of it? Because I see 95 feet length, and I see a 12 by 10 triangular area, but I can't read the
39.
dimension on
The
this
building's
part
30.
of the.
The building's 39 from here to there.
Yes, I understand that. I'm asking the width of this red hatched area.
Right.
How wide is that
10
drive?
feet.
Well, I couldn't read their handwriting, so I
10
kind of
feet.
guessed it was about 10 feet.
Okay,
Sorry.
So best case scenario is that we could do parking on two sides and get a lane in the middle of it, but that takes up a lot of city property and I understand, you know. But
I'm concerned.
But
about the
obviously
drip line
going
for the
in-
tree.
what's that?
I'm concerned a little bit about the drip line and root system for the tree.
Oh, yeah,
That tree is pretty unique.
Yeah,
yeah.
I wouldn't wanna go any.
I mean, I get that.
I wouldn't wanna be, yeah.
Yeah, I don't wanna go, like, I'm
We-
saying,
yeah.
I'm saying, obviously, for the whoever would buy that, that would be the best case scenario, but I understand that's probably not gonna happen.
What would be? If you were to say, what would you talk to citizens about that space? What's the advantage to Lebanon to have that?
Well, for one, you have a building sitting uptown right now that
That's
nobody,
empty.
that's not, that nobody's gonna do anything with until it has parking. Or you amend some of the stipulations that you're requiring in order to renovate it.
And it's proposed to have 4 units of rental space and then a storefront.
Yeah.
I mean, as of right now, I don't exactly know, like, exactly what the dimensions and all that stuff will be, cause that. The usage wasn't the issue on the docket, it's the parking as of right now.
Well, those are tied together though, aren't they? I mean, if you
It depends on what you wanna do with it, you have to have so many parking spots for, depending on what you're
Rental,
gonna use
yeah.
it for, and how much square footage and all that jazz.
I guess I'm looking at this that shows like, I think it's 4 units inside.
That's what I'm saying, that was a drawing that,
So that's not
Mr. Bailey
necessarily
had.
your plan if you.
No, we just-
And I would probably change that around a little bit, but yes.
Yeah, you'd have to have, what, a minimum of 8 parking places, just for the back. Then you got the front where you have to have something for the employees.
But that's what I'm saying, like,
It's.
And 10% has to be ADA parking, I think.
Hmm?
I think 10% of the spaces have to be ADA or in this case, one ADA space out of it.
No.
sense.
If there's.
based off of your,
Off of this
current.
layout.
well, and just the current, you know, ordinances, and everything, yeah.
I mean, you know how many buildings in town don't have parking spots? Ridiculous.
But
That's window.
that's where we're at. I mean, if you look at all the businesses uptown, like, there's no. It was built in a time period that obviously wasn't accommodating what you guys have on the books now, and to go back in time. You know, with it being landlocked, you guys are gonna put yourselves, you're gonna be looking at that building sitting just like it is right now for. The next, 20 years, and after that, it's just gonna go like that because nobody's gonna take care of it. You're lucky that Bailey did what he did with it,
Right.
in my opinion. That's.
Does the city have any other plans for that property they want the easement on?
They've got it listed as a park, the 4 corners is a park.
Is there any board or administrative oversight for that park?
I'm sorry, Jack, what?
Is there any board or administrative oversight for the park, similar to Horner Park?
Like the park
That's a
uptown,
whole nother.
Yeah,
it's just-
start.
more like
Just the
that,
city.
There's no,
the cities.
okay.
Is there,
And I
The
changed this,
cedar tree probably would just stay the cedar tree with the brick
Right.
around it. The one on this side, next to the chiropractor building, they wanna make a veterans memorial out of it.
Okay.
I tried to, originally the plan had like 10 parking places, but realistically, there wasn't enough room to put 10 in there. The last one against the building is the wider one because I just kind of said, well, you open a car door, a brick building's not too good on your door.
My question would be. Someone on the park board to find out what their preference for that
Yeah.
ground is. We don't know what that is.
The park board is city council.
It's city
Yeah,
council.
It's city property.
Is it the same as the park board?
Yeah.
No, it's not.
No, it's not that part, it's not part.
It belongs to the city.
Yeah, that's why I asked. that
So-
question.
It's like the little park up here on the side,
The mini
But it's
park.
not,
The mini
it's not like Horner Park or
No.
Cherry Street Park.
Right.
No.
Well,
No,
I just got one vote, but I'm just gonna say this. You know, that building's there. And if it's okay with the city, giving up this here to get what this was gonna create for that building makes a lot of sense. Because what this gentleman just said, you know. There's a big investment sitting there. And with people working out of there, it'll generate some kind of tax base. It's more pluses than minuses is what I'm saying.
Well, and even if, you know, if there's obviously gonna be at least a storefront, and we are probably gonna do some form of a, you know, apartment. But that's still putting, you know, 4 or 5 families or students or whoever it ends up being, you know, this close to the brick street. You're gonna walk to a restaurant, you're gonna walk to get, you know, a drink at some of the, you know, establishments up here. It's only gonna, in my opinion, it's only gonna help, it's not gonna hurt, I don't.
You know, I didn't think of this, but we do have an ordinance in the C2 that you have to, you're only supposed to have, we went through this with the thing up here, and I can't remember what your decision was on that, I'd have to look it up. But the front has to be retail, and I don't know how many you allow, how many apartments you could allow there. You know, we have a problem with uptown anyhow, people living residentially up there, and they always have complaints on it, so I try to keep it to the smallest number that you could.
Sure.
I mean, I do understand that, but I will say this, like, there's a revolving door that's going on, and you got some empty buildings and empty storefronts
No,
now.
I understand that, I'm
So,
not saying I'm against
You know,
it
as
at all.
somebody that's gonna be willing to invest some money in the town, like. Sometimes I feel like you're just gonna take what you can.
That's
get.
still part of the historic district and that's what governs that. That's
Yeah.
what the rules are.
Right,
The L-shaped part of that empty space there with the door, there used to be a garage in there.
The back.
You
the
think
back's
about
still there.
tearing that down and maybe
No.
using.
No, that's new.
No, we'd either make 2 storefronts and then a couple apartments or absorb it into something else. We haven't decided. We're not tearing anything down.
What
Okay.
is that double door in the middle of the long building?
It's an entryway. If you looked at the plans, how he had it, he was gonna do a hallway to
There's a
access the
hall.
apartments, so you
Right.
didn't see ugly doors, which
Okay.
I would.
And it also provided like, you don't have a bunch of doors and it provides an emergency exit for the business front and for the apartments.
It doubles for everything,
Okay.
which is a good, I like the idea, so if we did something to do the same.
It's a
with
good,
it.
it's pretty
You gotta
good.
follow what's-
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
with the easement, would there also be responsibility for maintaining that easement?
Well, we would assume responsibility for,
And that would
The
be by
easement.
agreement, right?
well, that would be, yeah, there would be a contract of some, you know, in the easement agreement.
Yeah.
Right, and then the other question I have is delineation between that driving space and the park. The park right up here has a fence, wrought iron fence.
Okay.
This one would have, I'm making an assumption, what would be
I would put a curb or something. I wouldn't necessarily put
are you talking
A
low
ramp.
curb, like a V curb?
I would say like a curb like you have out here.
Probably
Something,
Vertical curve or something.
yeah, something like that. So then back into your green space.
Right,
And then
that's, I
also,
don't
but
want people
also,
driving in the.
No,
green space.
right, no, that, and if you wanted, I mean, you could
Yeah.
offset a fence, but I wouldn't put it right on it because then I'm just asking people to hit that.
Understood, yeah, because it's tight.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there any concern about fire department access or restrictions in that area?
I mean,
Fire truck could get to it.
they're gonna pull up on the front street, they're gonna pull up in the alley, they're gonna pull, you know, I feel like that would be. I'm not part of, I haven't got that far, you know what I mean?
Right, I'm just thinking through some questions.
They would be able to pull up behind the cars that are currently there because that would be a lane that nobody could park in there as well, so.
And is there walking space in front of those apartments in the L space? Or is that just parking lot directly to the entrance?
Well, I mean, we would
We could
stop
do a
it
sidewalk.
for a small sidewalk up front, you know, like a 3 foot wide sidewalk up there, but.
Are you to the point where like this is the one thing that's like holding up the?
Yes,
whole-
well, yeah, like I'm not gonna put like, either I gotta put a offering based off of contingencies or. You know,
Either.
I gotta not do it, you know, so we're coming here to try to see if it's a possibility, if it's not.
This would be the deciding factor.
Oh, yeah, I'm not, if I can't get parking,
If we can't do it, we're done.
yeah, I'm not gonna buy a building that I can't access.
I
Is there any-
get that, but I'm saying though, are you to the point where you would go, okay, we now have this access, we're gonna buy the. building.
Yes,
I'm gonna put an offer in, yes.
Give us a timeline.
Okay.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's gotta go to-
I mean, it's,
Okay.
No, I've
In
had
other
our
words,
offer.
Oh, you know how it is, you know, somebody else's real
He
estate,
said,
so.
yes, I'm putting money down.
And
Yeah.
Soonest. All
and I
right.
also want to express my opinion that it's not just them that you're thinking about, that somebody might
Somebody
go
might
in
over.
tomorrow and buy it higher and,
Right.
you know, this is just something that you probably need to figure out what we need to do.
But if I'm understanding correctly, what we're looking at here is not necessarily, you know, what their final plan would be
Correct.
or anybody else's. That would
Correct.
still have to get vetted and approved.
Right.
Yes.
So really, the question on the table is, would we consider granting the temporary access easement? So something like this would be possible.
That's
Is
what-
that pretty
Yeah.
much just the issue for tonight?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. It'll be similar. I'm not saying that's exactly, because again, that is not ours. It would be something along those lines, but not to the T.
And does the ordinance require 8 spaces?
It was-
Or,
We have to have, one space for every bedroom. And then
But
as
once
a
again, like,
business,
you got this
because
uptown.
I think you're gonna be hard pressed to get 8 back there. I
Well-
think
Oh,
you're gonna get seven.
yeah, 100%.
how big is this front area?
It's 90 something feet, the whole.
No, you're talking about the one that's already currently there.
The one that's gonna be, yeah, I don't
Like I
know.
said, that's not our, we wanted it strictly for the parking and that was available to us as a blueprint, so we
And
used it.
isn't there a certain amount of parking per not residential, commercial space that has to be used? That,
Once,
well,
I understand.
Uptown is just an
Yeah.
oddball because there's buildings that don't have any parking.
Yeah,
So it's
but
hard for me
you
to
go to the
say.
restaurant up here,
Right.
like,
at all.
Change usage usually brings new requirements.
Yes,
Like,
and I
that's
we
what I'm
totally.
saying.
Stuff that's grandfathered in, you don't have to meet
Yeah.
those requirements, so.
that's kind of, like, I totally understand. If I come down here and buy some land down here, you know, behind McDonald's or something, I totally understand all this.
yeah, right.
But like, if you're trying, you guys wanna, like, I'm not saying necessarily you guys, but this town, there's a lot of people that wanna keep this historic district going.
Yes.
But if you're not gonna, you know, make some changes to like the ordinances that, you know, if you change a
Well, that's
building
what
or
we're
renovate
saying,
or
we
anything
have
like
to
that,
change.
like,
Yeah.
it's impossible there. It's purely impossible.
Agreed.
Would this be like a temporary use permit, or would this be like they get, the property becomes theirs? Is that?
It would not become ours, it would become an easement.
It'd probably be a permanent access easement.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. Like, so technically I would not own it, but you could not take it away from
It would transfer with the property ownership.
But, yeah,
That's the
Yeah.
key word right there.
100%.
That's
Like, I'm
what
not-
you want, right?
Yeah, I'm not, I wouldn't do
Because
it. If you just said if it was tied to me
Oh, yeah.
and that's it, then I'm out.
Right.
Like,
That's in-
because now if something were to come where I need to sell, it's not worth it.
Their control over the usage of that
Yeah.
strip of property.
Right.
Now, ours isn't, our committee isn't necessarily the committee for the binding agreement.
Right.
No, that'd have to be written up when you guys make up your mind and it goes to council, if they make up their mind, then they'll have to write an ordinance giving that. And in the ordinance will be, the contract would be an attachment to it and
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff.
Doing public comment and all the other.
Yeah.
All this is for is vetting those.
Yeah.
Potential public comments.
Understood.
I think the business aspect, I think you'll find many people are in favor.
You would hope
I would hope. Because like I said, otherwise you're just gonna look at,
another 30 years of brick buildings sitting there.
and then after that, like I said, once the roof goes, nobody's gonna put the money in
There's
that.
never a guarantee, but for today, we know that we want to be very supportive of that.
Yeah.
Is there any further discussion?
Well, if we start doing easements or whatever and taking away park ground on that side, is anybody gonna want to take it off on the other 3 corners?
Right.
You know, next thing you know, you'll have somebody wanting to do this, that, or the other with the other 3 corners, and where does it go to? My question is then, do you lose the park space that's been there? And the other question I got is, how did that park, those 4 corners come into existence? Did somebody donate that ground? Did they have stipulations about it? Or how did that work?
It came in during Rich Wilkins'
No, the park's been there for 150 years or more.
Yeah,
The land.
The
How did
land's been
get-
there.
Oh.
Not.
so, yeah,
Well, part of that land is that where that bank was over on the other side.
That was the bank's,
That was
They
owned by-
donate.
that was private property.
That's what I'm saying, and it's
Yeah,
still
but,
there.
but the Four Corner Park, been there as long, I know Wendell and myself and Kevin, we've all been there since we were born.
I
So,
don't remember that being a part of it.
it's always been a park.
The green space.
Green
space.
space.
No,
Well,
when Rich
no,
was,
I mean,
when Rich
there's
was
no
mayor,
building
he
there.
said they were doing it as a park. Designated.
I don't know what they did with the bank, but before the bank, there was a park there, or no, green space there on the Four Corners. Somebody gave that to the city. Otherwise, it would have been built up by now.
Oh, maybe not.
I feel like
Well, because all the other buildings were built in the 1900s.
I mean, that's
Early
the two-
1900s.
the two concerns is the origin of the property.
Yeah.
How was it established, which I think is valid. And number two is precedent.
Yeah,
Precedent for easements on city land. Whether here
here
or anywhere.
Yeah,
So those are the two considerations. I think that really require public comment. I mean, I think I'm positive towards this, but I think that those are two things that need to really be answered.
And in this particular case, two sides of this property would never be able to meet new requirements because you're never gonna get, access off of either one of those streets that close to the intersection.
No.
So I don't know that there would be a big development potential for this parcel. I think, in my opinion, this would be a good use of making another property more usable and allow it to, have some changed use and become a viable property. But it would set a precedent where other people could feel like they could come in and ask for this, so. But
Doesn't mean we have to,
each case can be considered individually on its own merit.
right,
In my opinion, I think we're overthinking this, because all we're gonna do is recommend to the council, one way or the other. They're gonna do the research to find out all the stuff you're talking about. So where we're at right now, I think is we need to, either decide, are we gonna recommend yes or no? I think that's where we're at.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for a motion.
shall I move that we approve this request for the easement? Recommend, okay, thank you. We recommend this request for the easement. At this address, I can't remember what it is.
108.
108,
Yeah, 108 East St. Louis.
108 East St. Louis.
I would second that.
I don't know whether it's, I guess we can as a committee, can you make that proviso? That this in no way sets a precedent for any other use of city property, other than this specific incident.
So he would like to amend,
I think we could, I mean, I
So-
think you can put, I don't have a problem putting that in the motion.
right.
To recommend to
Yeah.
approve this particular one. This does not mean that this would be carte blanche for any other city property.
As an easement
As an
only
easement only.
for the access for the
Correct.
development of this property.
I mean, when did they tear the bank down? Nothing's happened there in the ensuing, whatever,
20 years, or not 20.
30 years, 40 years, whatever it's been. So I mean, it's not like you have buildings coming up to the very edge of that area. Like you're worried that they're gonna, there's gonna be 12-story skyscrapers on each corner or anything. I mean, it doesn't seem like that is a concern.
Right,
Or a tower.
Well, it's not gonna get developed any more than what it is,
Right.
because the city owns all the land except for that one part that's owned by a lady out in New York City.
Where the
Doesn't-
bank, where
Who
the-
doesn't wanna really sell.
where the bank used to be.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? Those are good points.
Don't we have a motion on the floor?
We have a motion on the floor. And a second,
Tim seconded.
I second.
Okay, and we can proceed to a vote.
You probably need to roll call them,
Yeah, okay.
so it's on the map of the,
Robin Schultz
Wow.
says yes.
nothing moves.
Right.
Wendell.
Yeah, we are.
Wendell says yes.
I vote yes.
No.
Name,
Tim Nugent.
Mike Cable, no.
Kevin Wright, aye.
Yes. Crystal Catchings, yes.
And Jack Mitchell, yes. The motion carries. So we'll recommend it to the council as that.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for your time, appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for being available for questions. Okay, item number 2 on the agenda, discuss and recommend changing the True Value Drive to
Schleifer.
Schleifer Drive.
That's, Bill Milliken bought the property from Lou Schleifer. And,
Oh,
Sixer.
and so it's not a True Value hardware store anymore, so Bill, it's an Ace, so Bill would like to change it to a different name, and he wanted to honor Lou for developing that area down there.
okay. Discussion.
Makes sense, makes sense.
Makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, it does.
You don't wanna give advertising to your opponent.
Well, it's kind of hard to go, send it to Ace Hardware on True Value Drive.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So that individual will be responsible for updating the signs. And,
That I don't know.
right, I mean, I would think if they're
That's
gonna
why
come
the
with a
council-
proposal, they would bring them.
Is there a sign there?
Well, that's the other thing.
Is there?
If we're gonna name it, you gotta have a sign, but they should be responsible for placement of the sign,
You know,
Well,
at least initially.
buying the sign.
Right, buying it,
Who, Ace or Lou?
whoever we're naming this for, who wants it changed.
That
No,
would be Bill.
Bill Milliken
Yeah.
wants it changed.
Yeah.
Okay, well, he would.
So he'd be the one though.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we're gonna honor you, Lou, but you have to buy the sign.
It's the gift that keeps on giving.
you want the publicity, you gotta pay for it.
Yeah,
There you go.
exactly.
Okay, motions?
I'll make that motion.
Sure. Second?
Second.
Okay, the motion is seconded. Any further discussion? If none, we'll proceed to a unanimous vote. All those in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Discuss and recommend any changes to the size, number, and placement of accessory buildings on residential property within the city.
The first question I got is, what are they now?
Yeah,
Okay, well, right now, it just talks basically about that you have to have it a certain space off the lines and away from the building, gotta be 10 feet. There's nothing that says that an auxiliary building should be 10 by 10, 10 by 20, 40 by 90, nothing. The only thing that we have to control it is that only a certain percentage of your backyard side, your total lot can be covered with your house, your building, and then an accessory building. So that's about all we have. So if they can, and they can only be 15 feet high.
it can't be 2 stories.
Can't, that's supposed to be
Wow.
even
Okay,
20 feet high. It's not
Yeah.
supposed to. So those are things that you guys need to think about and think. If you have any recommendations. You're the planning committee, you're supposed to be looking at how to develop the town, and if you think having an auxiliary shed that's bigger than your house on your property, that's,
there are some that have
Yeah.
ones that are close.
yes.
Yeah,
And
there
we're talking inside the limits, city limits?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, we can, we can't.
I'm sorry, you can't have your pole
But-
barn.
are. So that's true. What's the current? The current philosophy is coverage of space, right?
Right,
Like a
Initially.
lot.
but I mean, we have we have
Setbacks?
lots that
Nice
have,
setbacks.
yeah, setbacks, 5 feet off the lot line. That's what it is.
What is
And
it, the
10
distance?
feet away from the house. But we have a property that have, 3 sheds on it.
Hmm.
And
How
they're,
close are those sheds supposed to be? 10 feet
there
apart?
can't have less than 10 feet in between the sheds. And this is all, fire safety is what that is, because if you get closer than 10 feet, I guess what they're saying, the fire department says that it's like a vortex. And it makes the air go through faster, which makes everything burn harder, so higher in temperature.
So at this point, we're just looking for recommendations
Yeah.
on the ordinance.
Yeah, because we don't have.
But how do you, we had an issue a number of years ago, and there was, they made the decision, they make the distinction between a temporary building, which would be like a shed,
Mhm.
and a so-called permanent building. That basically you could put a temporary building anywhere that you wanted. You could put it on the property line if you wanted.
We don't, up here, that's not how, the permit process is. We just,
I mean,
a
that.
building is a building is a building. you
They
know.
don't differentiate between temporary
Not
and, okay. Okay,
And what does that, what would this do to properties that already have things, they're not within that? I mean, are the properties that already have things that are greater than 10 or 15 feet high, are they grandfathered in by the
Well,
ordinance?
Yeah, you can't make a rule and tell somebody they have to tear down their shed. So once it's established until the point that a person, the shed is deteriorated and they need to rebuild it,
down, whatever. Okay,
then at that point, then the ordinance comes in,
okay,
the regulations.
okay.
It's just like a lot of buildings, you don't have to abide by all the upgrades until you start renovating it. Now, then that's when,
Okay.
It would also go to, but temporary structures that are like mobile homes that are falling apart and they want to go redo the roof and they build another structure over it.
yeah, we don't allow that.
That's very, it'd be very similar to that, right?
Well, it passed the ordinance and away from the rock.
yeah.
What's the timeline for this?
I'm done
Well,
May
congratulations.
1st. So you
Congratulations.
can get it done sooner or you can do it
But I-
after.
The best day to retire
The
is
whole
today.
thing is a process.
Is there an issue that has come up that has generated this discussion?
Yeah, a couple of them. So we just have to get it so that, we know.
Yeah,
Do we have any idea what other towns have done?
yeah.
No, I mean, I personally have not researched it, so, but I mean, it's not hard because with our ordinances, you're linked to, an ordinance package that you can explore other towns that uses the same people that we use, which is a large organization out of Florida, so. It can be done.
This is kind of tough because you asked me.
Well, I had a question. So my personal opinion, the 15-foot height, I think is a little silly. Because I think if some people would like to build like a mother-in-law suite in their garage above it, which I know some people have.
Yeah.
I think that if you're a family member and you'd like to move somebody in, it's a great place to be able to do it. Well, you can't put a mother-in-law suite in a 15-foot high garage, pole barn, whatever.
An
you decide to
attached
build.
garage or a
Detached.
You can't even
A
detach.
detached, a detached garage.
Yeah.
Is what, okay.
Just so you had, in my personal opinion, I think it should be allowed for like people to be able to do that, so they have some space and
Yeah.
family members can have a little privacy and whatnot.
Right.
But you can't do it under the, the 15-foot rule. It's not even possible. So my opinion, I think it should be higher, but I don't make the standard for that by
You
any.
could excavate it and have a mother-in-law basement.
Go deep.
Or somebody can request a variance. Yeah,
Right.
So, I mean, there is a mechanism where
Right.
somebody can try to get something like that approved.
Yeah.
It just
Each
does-
individual request can go to a variance process.
Right.
Where you have to show, I mean, it's more rigorous, you have to show that you've met all the this and that and the setbacks and that people usually wanna see what your sketch design's gonna look like, so it looks like it's gonna fit in the neighborhood and not look like that's what the variance is for.
Okay,
And this would be guide, if I heard it correctly, it'd be guidance for the variance. Essentially,
Yeah, just,
what is reasonable, right?
Is it guidance for the variance or is it guidance of how to revise the ordinance?
could be either
Well,
one, I don't,
they'd have to do both.
yeah.
I would go-
Revise the ordinance if you.
Because
What you
right
said.
now, our ordinance says you can only have one residence.
Yeah.
On a property. So if you build something and then you wanna build a garage and then you go, well, I wanna put living quarters up. Above, you can't. So they would have to come and ask for a variance to that situation.
Right, I guess that's what I'm trying to get point of clarity on is. Are we trying to figure out rules for potential variances, or are we trying to figure out if there should be changes made to the ordinance? I thought it was the second case.
Oh, then I assume the first.
Well, the line
I
item
was
is for
assuming-
size and number.
Size and number.
Okay. Yeah,
Do you want to restrict having X amount of, say for instance, out in the Knolls, they have a thing that can only have one shed. Okay, do we want something in our ordinance that says you can have one or two we want them to just keep on throwing them up as long as
Yeah.
they.
so I have a shed and I wanna add a greenhouse. That would be
That'd be
something
a
like,
structure.
There's
yeah,
some
that
other
would be a structure and it would be, and that would be,
And once again, it doesn't, it's all about covering the property
right,
for runoff. Everybody knows that Lebanon has huge runoff problem. We flood here, we flood there, and that's what this is all trying to control, is putting things on the property that keeps on shedding that water. I mean, we're not the only ones. St. Louis has, they fly drones over all the property and go, they put up another shed.
yeah,
And they get taxed for the actual amount of water, stormwater runoff that your property produces. So if you covered the whole thing, then you have a higher tax than somebody that's got one little shed, so.
okay,
This is just for guidance that we have when we refuse somebody to put up a shed or something, that we have something behind us that helps.
we can do a couple things. We can propose a solution if you have the size and number in your head, or we can table it for discussion and come back to it.
I would think you almost have to have an ordinance that states what's legal, what you can do, before you can figure out what you wanna do.
That's right.
You're saying though, there is one currently existing that limits
Yes,
buildings like that to a percentage of the acreage.
yeah, it's by percentage. You can have
Is that-
eight buildings.
That's
Yeah.
what we're looking to do now. It already exists.
That's for
Isn't it like?
So
residential.
you can go up 30%
Of
of your
watershed.
total land can be
Okay.
concrete,
15 foot
roof,
Okay.
rock doesn't count, like any building, any roof line, any concrete counts towards your 30%. They basically,
No
that's
patios, but anything that,
concrete. Yeah,
Anything
concrete,
that's
because
solid.
rock doesn't count, mulch does not count.
It's
yeah,
impervious.
cause that
That's-
will, yeah.
it's impermeable.
Yeah.
Well, I suggest we take I'd hate to kick the can down the road, but on the other hand, it would probably serve us to take a look, see what other people have done in the past. Or if any other towns or villages have decided to do something like that. You know, to limit the amount, that's what I'm saying. You know, whether you have 1, 2, or 10 on your property is, if that's the real problem, because you're still have to comply with the ordinance the way it's written anyway, as far as total space is taken up.
And taxing on structures is done by whom? For sheds.
County.
County.
We don't do any of that.
Okay.
We don't need it to do that.
I'm not saying we should.
Yeah, maybe if you build a permanent structure, the county might come by and take a look at that.
Some has a foundation, was 2 stories high, there's
Yeah.
a shed.
Yeah. Oh, just a tool.
Yeah, really long tools.
Yeah, I know.
Well, this is a sensitive area with me because I got a 60 by 80 building.
Yeah.
I had it put up, but this city stopped me for 3 months.
How tall is your window?
I'm not above the height. They said it wasn't a pole building.
Are you,
For 3 months, they put a stop work order on
is that residential, I mean, is that commercial down there?
Hmm?
Are you on commercial down there?
it. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
see,
it's
commercial
commercial,
business.
it's mobile home. I'm zone commercial.
That's what I
But it's
mean.
zone mobile home in that area too.
Yeah,
But they stopped me from working for 3 months and said this was not a pole building.
Oh, I thought they said it was a pole building.
No, I
You
said it
couldn't
was
have
a pole. I had a drawing. They made me get engineer drawings and everything. Then they said you can go back to work. So this, what we're talking about here, it's gonna be up to interpretation of who's in charge up here. That's what it's gonna come down to.
Right.
So what it always is.
So I would love to build one. Not gonna lie, I wasn't up here for this, but I would love to build one.
Well, me too. That's I'm on 9924 El Dente Court. And I got that big white house there, if you just look. I'm wanting to build a big shed, just like my neighbors, you know, he's got the same size.
what's his name?
Jay, I go by Jay, I don't know what his name is, but he's got an in-ground pool and stuff, he's, you know.
Oh, yeah.
But mine's just a big white, and so, you know, it's gonna have a white roof, it has a black roof, white, you know, and then black wainscoting, you know, on a foundation. But that water thing, cause she's helped guide me through it, I don't have to worry about it, cause it's on 1.7 acres. So as far as that water thing goes, but the 15-foot height, my fifth wheel is 13.3.
You're gonna get a little higher.
And I can't, yeah, so, and that was the whole thing, that I was putting in for this and nobody can build behind me. It's impossible, because once you get to the wood line, it's flood zone, according to your maps, it's all flood
It's
zone.
all with them.
So nothing will ever be back there. This is a big building, but it's smaller than my house. You know, somebody brought that up, you know.
So it kind of, it doesn't overwhelm everybody.
Right. And, I know corner to corner, when I was measuring, is like 56 feet away from the house, so, and 20 something feet away from the property line. So I mean, I was meeting, she was giving me all the paperwork. Yeah, huh?
How big is the building?
36 by 50.
I'm right there with you.
So I got a 42-foot fifth.
Yeah.
And,
Right.
And we're gonna have to go and get a variance.
Sure.
I mean,
but I don't
what
want
you
to,
have to do.
like, my neighbor's foundation is a floating foundation, so it cracks, the ground freezes
Right.
and everything. I want to put a foundation, so that,
That's better.
it won't move.
Yeah.
And, it won't break. I'm just putting electric, I'm not wanting to do water or sewage or anything silly like that. But, that's why I'm here. Because you told me about this and I came here. But that's the issue, is 15 feet is just, my house is way taller than that. This is gonna be shorter than my house, smaller square footage than my house. If you're counting, you know, like a garage, it makes it look big, but it's not, you know, the house is still. But that's what the whole thing is about, is I'll have a 14-foot bay door.
Right.
And then I'll have a regular garage door for my lawnmowers and crap running out of.
I think, I mean, personally for me, and I don't have any room on my property, so it doesn't matter to that, but I think 15 feet is way too short. If you're wanting to store, I mean, my camper is a 37-foot pull behind. I couldn't get it into a 15-foot
No.
If I had room on my lot, I wouldn't be able to do it.
And quite frankly, in a residential area, as long as it's aesthetically
Right.
pleasing, nobody's gonna notice it. It's better than having your motor coach sitting out in your
I
backyard,
agree.
because that looks bad.
What about?
Has there been a problem in the past of people getting variances for those things, or
Not too much. I
is
mean,
it just the?
this is becoming more and more as people are getting more and more recreational vehicles. We've got the problem with too many, people are buying too many toys to have, and they don't have enough parking places for their toys.
Yeah,
And so they're trying to come up with things, and yes, we have storage units that will take them and they're relatively cheap. But I know a lot of people, like to have their stuff near them.
yeah. Well, when you get ready to go on a trip or you get ready, you come back, it's kind of hard, and you've got a short time limit that it can be sitting. I get that. That's how I met
Well,
Sharon.
not that short, because ours say you can have 72 hours
That's pretty short.
to
to get-
load up and to unload. That leaves one thing in the middle of about a day.
To
Yeah.
bring the discussion, just to bring it back in just a little, those are all great points.
Yeah.
So the variance I see is fairly, there's already a process.
Yeah,
And I hope that
he's
we move
using-
those through fairly quick. We don't,
well, it's the process. It's just like here, I have to put it in the paper, I have to do this.
is part of this, part of that discussion for the variance tonight, or is this like pre-discussion?
No.
He's
He's
variance, he's not.
He's
Okay,
going
got
to
it.
get a variance.
Understood.
I mean, he's applying for a variance. I shouldn't say he's gonna get it, because it's up to them, you know.
So any structure, right, any structure, whether wheel, portable,
What?
any structure, right, we're talking any structure. Changes to the size and number and placement of any structured building. Cause this says accessory,
Well, you have a residence and you have an accessory. That's all you have.
all right?
Everything's an
A or B.
accessory.
All right.
Everything that isn't a residence is an accessory, right?
Does that include wheeled vehicles,
Wheeled vehicle.
like wheels,
No.
like campers?
No,
No.
Okay. That's covered by a separate ordinance, right? This is just structure.
yes.
Okay, got it. So
I'm
I'm just waiting for a recommendation, but I would recommend that I mean, we need to read the ordinance. We need to do our homework.
I think we should table it and do some homework and come back and revisit it.
So the motion's on the floor to table. Is there a second?
I second.
A second. And so we can move to a vote. The table. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay, we table it for further discussion in the next meeting. And it's an important topic. But that's all that I have. Are there any other open items that we did not discuss? With that,
I move we adjourn the meeting.
the move will be adjourned. Second,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Well,
Enough.
it's in the room. Thank you.
Okay, everybody do their homework.
Yeah.
So if you would send that out to us.